To begin this afternoon, I'd like to introduce Dr. Brad Ritchie, our Superintendent of Schools at Milton Union. Brad.
Hello everyone, welcome to Milton Union Schools. For those of you that have traveled far distances to be here this evening, thank you for making that effort. I hope you had safe travels. Welcome back to Milton Union. For those of you that are more close by, good to see you again. This is my third year as the superintendent, and the first is, in year number one, I didn't know quite what to expect attending the Hall of Fame induction ceremony, and I was not disappointed. It was fantastic, and I found myself throughout the whole evening writing notes on the back of my brochure, my agenda, just things that I wanted to remember about the evening. Just really great messages about leadership and the experience that our former graduates had at Milton Union Schools, what they accomplished in their careers, not to mention what they've done on the athletic field. So I'm looking forward to this evening. It's one of the best events we have. It's one of those evenings where we honor our traditions, and I look forward to it every year. So thank you for being here. Welcome, and hope you're as entertained as I will be for this evening. And congratulations to this year's inductees. We're happy to have everyone here. Thank you. Oh, excuse me. One thing I forgot to do, I even was told not to forget this, but John Guy, if you want to wave, John Guy is our interim high school principal right now, so if you get a chance to introduce yourself to John, he is a very interesting fellow with a lot of experiences and is filling in for our regular high school principal while she is out tending to her new twins. So she has a lot on her plate, so we're happy to have Mr. Guy with us. So thank you again for being here.
Thank you, Brad. Good afternoon. Welcome to the 14th Annual Milton Union High School Athletic Hall of Fame induction ceremony. I'm Dr. Bill Ginn. It's been my honor to be the MC for the last 14 of these. I think some people would say it's my 14th chance to get it correct. But at any rate, starting with the original 8 charter inductees back in 2005, and then adding 52 more deserving athletes, including the 4 up here today, we have 60 great Bulldog athletes in our Athletic Hall of Fame. Every sport offered at Milton Union has a representative in the hall. There are members who span the years from the 1920s to the 2010s. There are all league, all district, and all state athletes. There are NCAA and Olympic champions. There are even professional athletes. And I think it's really cool to think that they all roam the halls of Milton Union, and that right now there are youth just like they were who will someday be going through the same thing. It's a circle. So starting off today, I'd like to recognize members of our high school administration who are in attendance today. We've already met our superintendent, Dr. Ritchie. Board of Education members, would you please stand if you're in attendance? School administrators, Dr. Ritchie introduced. You want any other school administrators here? There's Justin, yes. One Mark. At this time, I'd like to take a moment to recognize the Hall of Famers. And if you are in attendance and I call your name, I'd like you to please stand up and I'll acknowledge the crowd. Starting off, as we always do, with Diana Broombaugh-Finfrock. That's you, Doc. Yeah. Bob Schuer. Melissa Marshall-Vance. Steve Huffman. Terry Tyson. Sally Dickinson. Ron Berner. Mike Kelly. Kenny Beard. Jen Sakel McGrath. Sharon Paul. Dave Fine. Lori Kinnison Meyer. Kim Berner Dorman. Chantel Van Dyke Rammel. Steve Broombaum. Scott Strain. Rusty Berner. John Broombaum. Megan Swafford Conley. Doug Studebaker. Did I miss anyone aside from our posthumous recommendation? We would like to recognize the following Hall of Famers posthumously. I'll read the names, and there are a couple that have some representatives here. Ken Hemrick, William Seagin, who's represented by his wife, Dorothy. Bill Fox and Charles Fox. Watt Farrar, represented by Nancy Farrar Allen. Carl Broombaugh, represented by Phil Broombaugh. David Cripe, Ron Peel, Ed Lindensky, who's represented by Carolyn Lindensky. Dick Overla, Ralph Hildebrand, Bill Carnes, and Rex Warner. And with that, on with the introductions. As you who have attended our ceremonies in the past know, we try to keep this an upbeat and fun event. And speakers, we have experienced all kinds of speeches. We've experienced long speech, we have experienced longer speeches, and we have experienced very long speeches. We've also had some short speeches and some funny speeches, and for Pete's sake, we had a guy up here whose entire shoe disintegrated while he was giving his speech. So, anything goes. So I'm going to say a few things about each one of you, and what I usually tell you is if anything's incorrect, but it sounds better than what really happened, just go with it. So our first honoree today comes from the class of 1967, Mark Vagatus. For anyone who has lived in and around the West Milton area as long as I have, you know that the Vagatus family has woven itself through the tapestry of the Milton Union Athletic Department for an incredibly long period of time, starting with Mark and continuing at least until 2017 when his nephew Zach graduated. Mark was certainly a worthy athlete to start the legacy. He was an amazing football and baseball player for Milton and also participated in the marching band. In football, Mark became Milton's starting quarterback in 1966, taking over from fellow Hall of Famer Mike Kelly, and led his team to an SWBL championship with a 9-0-1 record under Hall of Fame coach Watt Farrar. The 66 team is still considered one of the greatest in Milton history, and the championship was the first of Coach Farrar's 7 SWBL titles. Mark led his team not only in rushing and passing yardage, but also scoring, kickoff return, and punt return yardage, and he's believed to be the only Milton Union player in the last 50 years to ever accomplish that feat. He was truly the all-purpose quarterback that we see so often in college football today. For his efforts, he was selected unanimously first team All-SWBL. In baseball, Mark was a 3-year letterman and a member of another SWBL championship team in 1967 under head coach and Hall of Famer Ed Lindensky. After Milton, Mark attended Earlham College and lettered there for 4 years in both football and baseball, earning all conference and all district honors. In baseball, he earned TOPS, the baseball card company, honorable mention All-American honors, and he still ranks 3rd on Earlham's career stolen base list. His record stood for 43 years until it was broken in 2014. His 1970 and 1971 Earlham baseball teams are in the Earlham College Athletic Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, Hall of Famer Mark Vagatus.
All hecklers can please leave at this point. Thank you very much. And it was nice to see Mike Kelly back there. Mike, how you doing? Mike's one of the reasons that I'm up here today, because he was quarterback ahead of me. I wanted that spot. So it's good to see him again, and thank you very much, Mike. I wanted to start my speech off kind of like once upon a time, because it's somewhat of a fairy tale, and yet it's a long time ago, over 50 years ago, when we graduated. I want to dedicate this award to my father, Paul. When he heard that I was going to be inducted, he said, I put I put 10 kids through the Milton Union system. He says, I deserve an award. So I'm going to award this to him. I've been a hustling Quaker, a fighting Quaker, a lug nut in baseball, and the fighting Quaker is kind of contradictory. And that after all those years that Earlham existed, they did change the name when I was there to the hustling Quakers. I guess though, of all of those names and nicknames that we had, once a bulldog, always a bulldog. I mean, no disrespect to any of the fine athletes that graduated after me and then have won awards, but I can only remember, I went off to college and then I went on to my career, so I wasn't totally familiar with everything that was happening afterwards. So I mean, no bit disrespect. Speaking of the athletics, things were just a little bit different. I never used an aluminum bat in baseball. It was the closest we came was a fiberglass handled wooden bat. So we had, no aluminum bats. My helmet, even at Earlham College, fit inside of my hat. It was a shell that fit inside the hat. So there's been a lot of changes in equipment. I guess they figured we could get out of the way quick enough. I knew that I wanted to be quarterback at Milton Union when it was in the early 60s, I believe. I could have, the year wrong. But I remember going to a Milton Union football game and watching Charlie Green. I watched him in a play in which he made a couple fakes and then stood with the football behind his thigh, and everything happened, tackling, blocking, and whatever, and then all of a sudden, after that good fake, Charlie threw a pass all the way down the field, and I went, wow, amazing. So at that point, I knew that I wanted to do that. Eaton High School, Northridge, Tip City, Trotwood Madison, Brookville, Oakwood, West Carrollton, and our huge rivals, Northmont and Vandalia Butler. That was the Southwestern Buckeye League at that time, in 1966. The big games, Northmont and Vandalia, we crushed them. Those were supposed to be unbelievably tight games, and we ran away with them. I always wondered, with Oakwood, I always wondered whether Watt Farrar used that term dirt farmers, referring to Milton Union, as if we really had gotten a letter from Oakwood saying that, or if he was using that as motivation. To this very day, I still don't know, but whatever it was, it worked. Part of my career, I enjoyed, and Dad's going to enjoy this, I would stand in our driveway with a half of a wooden bat, and we had a gravel driveway. And I would get up in the morning and I would pick up rocks and with a half bat, I would hit him across the street into the woods at a telephone pole. And I so emptied that driveway that Dad finally had to pave it. We also had something that I think helped us, and it was a curse and a blessing. If you've ever been by the old homestead, you've seen a white board fence going all the way around. David and Susie live there now. And when Dad would take vacation, which was very rarely, we knew we were in for trouble because we had to paint the white board fence, inside and out. When he wasn't on vacation, during the summer times, all of us, it was kind of a challenge to each other. We would stand up and try to walk that white board fence all the way around the property. About 1.25 inches wide, and believe it or not, that helped us with balance, something unbelievable. Now, a few of us, did some splits on that thing and whatever, but I attribute a lot of that, the challenge of trying to get all the way around that whiteboard fence to having some very good balance. I want to recognize some people who played a big role in my development from the area. I think some of us here can remember Duke Small. Duke Small, to me, was kind of the father of Milton Union baseball. Lived a few houses down, and he just did an unbelievable job. How many of you remember the name Charlie Dickey? Charlie Dickey he came by and gave me a ball glove. Nakona was the model, or made by the Nakona people. And I used that glove, for a long, long time. Al Dom, who coached the All-Stars, and that's and he devoted a lot of his time to that. That's the only time that I was playing that I ever hit a home run. They had some kid from Troy that was 12, 14 years old that was supposed to be a fireballer, and all I remember is the pitch coming in, and somehow I just made it over the right field fence. But that was my only home run that went over a fence. Bill Ginn, your father. Tremendous respect for him. I never actually played a sport for him. He wanted me to come out for wrestling, and he wanted me to come out for track, but there was always baseball or something else going on at the time. So, a tremendous guy. Watt Farrar, what can I say? Watt did a fantastic job and put us through some rigorous 2-a-days and I think a couple 3-a-days. How many people remember Ed Lendensky? Ed Lendensky and the wrist curls. It was a broom handle tied and put a 5 or 10 pound weight on it, and we would do these daily. And you talk, to build up your wrist to swing the bat. So Ed was fantastic. When I went to Earlham, I had the good fortune. The baseball coach at Earlham that time was Del Harris, and Del Harris then gave up the baseball coaching to Rick Carter, but then went on to coach Earlham basketball. Did a fantastic job. He ended up coaching in he was, an NBA coach. I walked in and visited him a few times when he was coaching the Bucks up in Milwaukee, in Bradley Center. Great fellow. I was very lucky to play with some area players during my time. Mike Smith from Ohio University played in some of the summer leagues around here, and you know how well Mike Smith did. I think one of the best baseball players in the area when I was here was a fellow by the name of Rich McKinney. Rich McKinney was at Miami East, an unbelievable baseball player. Made it with the Yankees, and then unmade it with the Yankees. What about Steve Yeager? Steve Yeager, Meadowdale High School. So this area, there's something in the water, folks. There's something in the water. Has produced some great players. I had the fortunate I was very fortunate working for, after I graduated from college, went to work for Johns Manville in Richmond, Indiana, and eventually went to work for a company called Guardian Industries, a very, very large glass company out of Detroit, Michigan. They competed with LOF, PPG. And there was a gentleman there by the name of Bill Davidson who ran that company. Bill was quite an entrepreneur, but sports were his passion. And in 2004, he had national world championships in women's professional basketball. They were called the Detroit Shock. The men's, he owned the Detroit Pistons, and the Pistons won the championship in 2004. And he also owned the Tampa Bay Lightning, who won their world championship in 2004. So quite a, I don't think that'll ever happen again. But he taught me a life lesson. I was responsible for metal building insulation, going into metal buildings around the country, and we had just started producing it, and it wasn't working quite right. And you know, when you're an individual athlete, you do everything, you know, it's kind of for yourself, and you're trying to work real hard, and you got to remember that it's a team and this type of thing. You know, he came up to me and he said, "Mark," he said, "you know, what's going on with the metal building insulation? Why is it failing?" And I said, "Well, production's doing this. They're not getting this right, and quality control isn't doing this." And he didn't scold me. He didn't see anything. He looked at me, smiled, and said, "Okay, what's your plan B?" And I went, I was kind of shocked because, I was thinking, well, it wasn't my fault that it wasn't. Yes, it was, And again, everybody should have a plan B. Pointing fingers gets nowhere, and solve the problem and move on. And sometimes I think that maybe that should be happening today a lot. So I learned a lot from him. I'm going to wind this up here very shortly. Sorry. I want to thank my dad, obviously, and my moms. I had a mom, a Betty 1 and a Betty 2. I want to, because all of these people helped, bring me where I am here today. 3 daughters. Michelle, my oldest daughter, is an ice skating coach in Chicago. Jackie is a human relations manager with W.W. Granger in Chicago, doing well. And my youngest daughter, Lindsay, is here today with her husband, Pete. Lindsay's a former Big Ten champion and 2-time All-American gymnast at Ohio State. I have 3 stepsons from Nancy. See, Scott Evans, Stephen, and Jonathan, so it's kind of now like the Brady Bunch. 13 grandkids. And Nancy, I wanted to kind of introduce her. She challenges me and makes me smile. Again, the class of '67, there was something special about them. We changed rings here when we were here. I remember a petition that everybody signed so that we could get a concert in our gym, and it included, schools all over in Dayton and whatever. And I can't remember, was it the Hansons or there was some group that came here and played in the gym. But again, I'm going to end with once a bulldog, always a bulldog. Thank you.
Well, first of all, I've got to say, I hope that concert wasn't the Hansons.
It was a twin.
Bob. Anyway, I have to tell you, Mark, as you may or may not know, tonight's game is against Brookville. And I am very tempted when I'm out on the gym floor tonight to remind them of the last game of the season in 1966, when the undefeated Blue Devils came to face the 8-0-1 Bulldogs and went home losers. And lost the championship, and there's many stories about that. All right, our second honoree today is Jessica Herkins Broombaum, class of 1995. One of Milton's great all-around athletes, male or female, Jessica earned 11 varsity letters in volleyball, basketball, and track. She was twice Southwestern Rivers Conference in basketball, ending her career 10th on the career rebounding list and number 6 on Milton's, career scoring list, and number 6 on Milton's career rebounding list. She averaged in excess of 9 points a game and nearly 7 rebounds a game over the 56 games she played in. In volleyball, Jessica exhibited natural talent that was obvious from the first time Coach Sally Dickinson and I saw her in her practice. She had a very high talent level and a very high work ethic, but what made Jessica stand out even more was an incredibly upbeat personality that prevails even today. She played with an enjoyment of the game that is not often seen. It translated into a wonderful career for her. She has returned to play against my volleyball teams in practice and alumni games, and she still plays with the same joy. Statistically in volleyball, Jessica started in 99% of the sets played during her career as a 4-year starter. She entered her career number 2 on the career digs list, or number 2 on the career kills list, second only to Hall of Famer Kelly Barron's Hoffman, and number 1 on the career digs list. And she actually broke Kelly's sister's record for career digs. Her digs record, however, was broken this year, and Jessica was nice enough to come to our match in which it happened and present the game ball to Olivia Brown. Olivia's here tonight, who established a new mark. Jess was 3 times All-SRC, 2 times All-District, was voted 2nd team All-Ohio, and played collegiately at Wright State. Ladies and gentlemen, Hall of Famer Jessica Herkins-Brumbaugh.
Thank you, Doc. You guys make me nervous sitting out there. Anyway, I would just like to say how grateful I am for being inducted to the Milton Union Hall of Fame. The girls in my class were extremely talented and athletic, so receiving this award truly is, I'm grateful. I thank God that He blessed me with an athletic talent and a positive, strong family. My parents, Mark and Cheryl Herkins, they're very involved parents from a very young age. They're always there, walking me through things, helping me do things. My parents were really busy, but they always took time out with whatever they were doing to, sorry I get emotional here, but just to stop and play with us, really to enjoy us. And now as a parent, I try to do that with my family because of the impact it had on me. And not only was I supported by my parents, but my grandparents, Mary and Larry Fetters and Camilla Herkins. They were at almost every single game. Rarely did they ever miss. And another person I would like to say thank you to is my sister. She had to get drugged to all my games. I'm sure she didn't like it all the time. We would go outside and play volleyball, basketball. Sometimes we had a blast together. Other times it ended in an argument, probably because she was cheating or something like that. I would also like to thank my teammates because without them, I would not be here. In Proverbs 27:17, it says, "Iron is made sharp by iron, and one man is made sharp by a friend." And that's exactly what we did. I have so many great memories and friendships from volleyball. My first memories of the old gym, we had no air conditioning. In the summer, it was hot, sticky, humid, and I loved it. And I don't know if Jen and Nikki and Carrie here remember those days, but you would dive for a ball and you would go to slide across the floor and it was so hot and muggy in there, your skin stopped you from sliding. But yeah, just those were great times. We had 2 of the best coaches, Sally Dickinson and Sharon Pinkerton. Those 2 ladies taught us lots of life skills. They taught us discipline, how to build each other up, and to work hard. Doc also played a key role. He would come in and scrimmage against us every night. He was very intense, and sometimes Dickie and Sharon would have to tell him to calm down. But he was really fun though. But anyway, those guys loved making us work. Dickie loved making us run sprints, sevens, the dreaded sevens. Those of you who played volleyball or basketball for her know what we're talking about. They would throw balls and make you dive for them, and they would be impossible to get, but still, it was a lot of fun to try. Dickie and Doc liked to buy the volleyball team new clothing. So sometimes we would get new t-shirts, or one time we got a really cool hot pink wind jacket, and I think we made all the other fall sports girls teams slightly jealous. But Dickie decided to buy us a new uniform, a new bottom piece of our uniform. She bought us bun huggers. And when I say bun huggers, that's exactly what they were, bun huggers. And we had to go out there and wear those, and somehow kids at school found out about it, and our next home game was packed with more high school boys than normal. Now our team had a great sense of camaraderie. We were a family, and we loved being together. And not only did we have great camaraderie, but we had great accomplishments. When we started tournament time, things got exciting. Every year, Dickie and Sharon would come up with a theme for that year's tournament games. Now, I don't have a great memory, so I cannot remember every theme that happened. However, I do remember the theme from 1992. We were called the Cinderella team, and the theme was Cinderella. We were league champs that year, and so was the soccer team and the girls' tennis team. Our volleyball team also was district champs in 1991, 92, 93, and 94. And in regionals, we got beat every first game except for in the year of 1994, where we were runner-up. I also enjoyed the game of basketball. Basketball season, we had a lot of fun and a great mix of girls. I had 3 wonderful coaches, Coach Berner, Coach Burnett, and Coach Sleppy. I really appreciate all the time that they poured into our lives and their energy. Now, I can't remember every detail of our game, which I've noticed men do for some reason, but I talk to other girls and they'll say, well, I don't remember the score or the quarter that happened in, so it must be a male-female thing. I'm not sure. But I do remember that we should have been better than what our record was. But the one thing I do remember is going down into our home locker room where we would get ready, and then when we would exit, before we exited the locker room, we would jump up above the door frame and smack the wall. Now I'm thinking maybe at times we maybe should have smacked it a little bit harder, just to kind of help us with more luck for the games. I competed in track for 4 years and was coached by Kenny Beard, Dickie, Greta Slagle, and Pat Stinson. And at the beginning of the track season, it was freezing outside. One practice, I remember we had to go out and shovel snow with our feet just to get a couple lanes clear. Our coaches really wanted to make us run hard, and we couldn't stay in a nice warm school. We had a lot of fun together. We had to battle spring storms. We would be out there at practice and a storm would roll in and they wouldn't let us go home. They'd make us go sit in the red barn and wait for the storm to pass. But in that red barn, we had a lot of fun, lots of laughter, lots of jokes. My senior year, my 4x8 team, we made it to state. And the team consisted of Carrie Vagatus, who is here tonight, Corinne Hammond, Melissa Swab, and me. The coaches took us to stay in a hotel the night before, and then also took us to the spaghetti warehouse. And then the next day, we raced in the horseshoe at Ohio State. I don't remember what we placed, but I remember we had the best time ever. To wrap up track, the coaches would take the whole track team down to the spaghetti warehouse, cram us into a room that was reserved. It was loud and noisy, but a lot of fun. And I'm sure we went through a lot of bread that night as well. Anyway, I'm so thankful for all these memories and relationships that were built over the years, and I am truly grateful for this reward, or award.
Thank you, Jesse. I would be remiss if I didn't mention your dad. Actually, if there were a Hall of Fame for line judges, 2 of them are here tonight, and one is your dad, the other one is Mark Newman, sitting right there. And then, by the way, you didn't tell them the bun huggers were purple.
I think we had a couple pairs.
They were purple.
Black and purple.
Red too, okay. Next up is Jen Wright Scherpenberger, also from the class of 2000. Jen won varsity letters during her Milton career in soccer, basketball, and track. Jen's forte was her quickness, which she used a great degree during her illustrious career. She still holds the MU track record in the hurdles. And that's It's out on the wall if you'd like to look at it. In basketball, Jen started 42 straight games for the Bulldogs, leading her team in assists and steals during her junior and senior seasons. She was so prolific at those two statistical categories that she ended her career ranked number 1 in the all-time steals list and number 1 on the all-time assists list, as well as being ranked in the top 25 in career scoring. She was all Southwestern Rivers Conference her senior year. As good as she was in basketball, soccer became her ticket to college. She ended her Milton career 4th on the career goals scored list and 2nd on the career assists list. In her 1998 season total of 17 assists, still ranks number 1 on Milton's single season assists list. She was all SRC in soccer her junior and senior seasons and earned an athletic scholarship to Ohio University. And at the time of her graduation, she held the OU record for career games played, earning 3 letters as a defender and was captain of her team in 2003. She was twice named to the All-Mid-American Conference academic team. In addition, she faced off against high school teammate and fellow Hall of Famer Megan Swafford Conley, who was playing at Ball State at that same time. And by the way, your record against Megan was 5 wins, 1 loss. I cleared that with Megan before I told her. Ladies and gentlemen, Hall of Famer Jen Wright-Schuppenberg.
Thank you. First, I'd like to apologize to Mark. That was my child that was crying during your speech, so sorry about that. I'd like to start off with first thanking the Hall of Fame committee. Being inducted into the Mountain Union Athletic Hall of Fame is such an honor, so thank you. Anyone who has ever played a sport has memories of when they played that are special to them. Tonight, I'd like to share some of the things that I remember that are special to me, not only in my sporting career, but in my life. One of my first sports memories is playing out at Lowry Field, which is now where we're sitting, and being coached by Mark and Julie Newman. Going to the state championship and playing in the snow is another memory, and if you know me at all, you know I hate playing in any type of weather, unless it's 7 degrees and sunny. I remember playing on my first select soccer team, the Milton Magic. We weren't really that good, but we had a lot of fun. But some of my fondest memories came when I started to play in high school. Being able to finally play for Chuck Tinnerman was something that I had dreamt about since I started playing soccer. Making varsity as a freshman in soccer was something that I dreamt about too. Even though I only had Chuck as my coach for 2 short years, I want to take this time to let him know that he was the best coach I've ever played for, and that everything that he did for me on and off the field I remember, and I thank you. There are some other events like winning the SEC conference my senior year in soccer, a triple-double my senior year in basketball, and some track records, but most of my track memories I have pushed aside to the back of my mind because even now thinking about a track practice with Coach Beard makes me sick to my stomach. What I really want to say after all this time is thank you. Thank you to all my coaches and to all the people that supported me. Especially thank you to my parents for all their love and support because I know I didn't say it enough growing up. And thank you to my brother for letting me play sports with him and his friends in the backyard growing up. Without these times, I know I wouldn't have been the sports player I was today. So thank you again to the Athletic Hall of Fame. I hope everyone has a wonderful evening. Oh, and one more thing, Doc Yen. I know you don't have a lot on your plate, but if you could take the time and look at the men's 1995 basketball season, I'd really appreciate this. That way we can finally clarify that I'm the only person in the Wright family with the triple-double in their basketball career and resolve this family argument once and for all. Thanks.
I'm pretty sure your brother had a triple single once. Yeah, pretty sure he did. Hey, before we go on, I'd like to recognize Rusty Burner has the basketball team that will be playing tonight back on the back row, and I appreciate you guys being here. Thanks for coming. Our fourth and final honoree is Ryan Paul, class of 2005. Ryan was a very rare 4-sport letterman, and he earned 13 letters while at Milton, 2 in basketball, 3 in baseball, 4 in golf, and 4 in tennis. Ryan's basketball career at Milton Union was notable for an All-SWBL selection in 2005 and a shooting range that my wife and I still talk about. In the old gym, on more than one occasion, we witnessed Ryan pull up approximately in front of the scorer's table, right about where the guy that keeps the clock is, and shoot. And to this day, Joy and I still, when we see a shot like that, refer to it as Ryan Paul range. He doesn't seem amused. In golf, Ryan was named All-SWBL for 4 years and was SWBL Player of the Year in 2005, along with being co-medalist of the SWBL tournament. He held records for the lowest career scoring average and both 9 and 18-hole lowest score records. However, as might be expected, Ryan was arguably Milton's most accomplished tennis player. He was first team All-SWBL for 4 years. He was a district qualifier for 4 years and a state qualifier for 2 years. He ended his career #1 on the career singles wins list and #1 on the career doubles wins list. His tennis took him to Ohio Northern University, where he was a 4-year letterman and a 3-time All-Ohio Athletic Conference pick. He was twice ONU's team MVP, and his teams were OAC champions 3 times. He ended his career there 5th on the career overall wins list. Now, before I bring Ryan up, I want to preface this by saying Ryan has laryngitis. Apparently, he doesn't know a doctor. So he's a little bit, so if he cannot continue, we're going to tag team with his dad, Gene. And we're all hoping that doesn't happen, because I've been warned that when you give Gene a mic, it's not a good thing. So, Ryan, I hope you can push through this. Ryan Paul.
All right, so as Doc said, I don't have much of a voice, but I wanted to start by thanking the Athletic Hall of Fame Committee for this prestigious honor. I also wanted to thank everyone that goes into putting this event on. I know it's a lot of work. It's very humbling to see the names of the people already in this committee, as well as their achievements. I also wanted to congratulate the other inductees. I'm glad we could share this day together. To my parents, if I tried to list all of the things you have done for me, we wouldn't even get to eat dinner. I am so grateful for the sacrifices you made, from taking me to the golf course, to feeding tennis balls, to pitching baseballs until your arm was sore for days. You always made me the priority. My parents traveled to Los Angeles, Orlando 3 times, West Virginia, St. Louis multiple times, all over Ohio, all over Indiana, and even to that state up north. I probably appreciate that more now than I did then. We often joke that we didn't know what a family dinner was, because it was often grabbing something on the way from one event to another. Thank you for everything. To my wife Amanda, you've been going to my games since high school and supporting me ever since. Watching you become a mother has been an incredible experience. You are my Hall of Famer. I'm so happy to have you by my side. I love you and thank you for your support. I at least wanted to get that far.
I was just telling someone that I'm not a helicopter parent. Wow. Sharon told me I can't go off script, that I just need to read Ryan's script, but I have to tell one story. He couldn't tell this. He went off to kindergarten screening in 1992, like everybody does. And Sharon met with the people after the screening, and they said, well, he did really well on all of his academic things, but Ryan had trouble bouncing a ball. Now, if you know anything about our family, Ryan was bouncing a ball and hitting a tennis ball. In fact, his developmental stages were learning to crawl, learning to hit a tennis ball, and then learning to walk. So, as you can well imagine. So Sharon and I were laughing about the fact that he couldn't bounce a ball. And anyway, he must have heard us because as we were standing talking about this, on the back concrete, we could hear bounce, 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 bounce. He was out there working at it. For many people, their high school careers last 4 years. I feel like mine started when I was much younger. I went to a lot of my mom's team's matches growing up, and I got to see teams win the league, kids qualify for state, and play at state. I also had the opportunity to be a ball boy for Coach Thompson for several years. When I was in elementary school, getting to be around guys that I looked up to like Rusty Berner, Stephen Matthews, Travis Hobbs, and Chris Fulton, and many others was an incredible experience. I got to be on the court for those tournament runs to UD Arena at Wright State. But what I remember about those teams is how I was always included. From team dinners to practices, those guys always made me feel like part of the team, and that is what made those teams so special to me. Getting to be around that success really helped drive me during my high school years. I am forever grateful to those guys. I couldn't begin to talk about my golf career without talking about Coach Andy Grafflin. I have a couple of stories that show how Coach Grafflin made me better and helped my scores come down each year. My first home match freshman year, and I had a good round going. I hit a terrible drive on the final hole, and my ball went in the left sand trap. Now, if you know number 9 out at Homestead, they have those sand traps on either side, about 180 yards from the green. And he was in the left sand trap. So there is a large lake in front of that green. So hitting the wood out of the sand trap is not the easiest thing to do, but he had to hit it 180 yards, so he hit a 5-wood. Never crossed my mind to do anything else. The ball sailed over the lake and onto the green. Walking to the green, I saw Coach Grafflin off to the side, arms crossed, sunglasses on. As I got closer, I realized he hadn't moved and he didn't look happy. I thought to myself, these other guys must be playing bad, and he must not have seen the shot I just hit. I finished the hole, and Coach Grafflin still hadn't moved. Arms crossed, sunglasses on, still not happy. First thing he said was, "Nice shot, don't ever do that again." I believe what followed was a one-sided conversation about all the things that could have gone wrong, and how laying up might have been a better option. Coach Grafflin, you taught me how to think through a round, and as my scores came down each year, it had a lot to do with you teaching me things like when you're in trouble, don't be a hero, just get out of trouble first. Fast forward to sectionals my senior year at Reed North. It was cold, wet, windy, and the course is long and narrow, meaning scores would likely be high. I decided in those conditions I wasn't going to hit a wood all day because if I stayed out of trouble, I would have a great shot at districts. I was probably the only person there that didn't hit a wood the entire day. I shot a 78 that day, winning the sectional by several strokes. It's hard to believe the same kid that hit a wood out of the sand in the first match over water could qualify for district playing an entire round with a 3-wood or a 3-iron. That would never have been possible without 4 years of Coach Grafflin teaching me to play smart. In tennis, growing up, tennis was the sport I would play when nothing else was going on. I would have much rather played basketball or baseball. In fact, I don't think my mom ever thought I would play high school tennis. Being around some of the teams with state qualifiers and being around basketball teams that had so much success was a big part of me playing tennis. I knew tennis would give me a chance to go to state and play in college, which were 2 of my goals. There are 2 people already in the Hall of Fame, in addition to my mom, that had a huge impact on my tennis game, Steve and John Broomball. I was incredibly blessed to have 2 players of their caliber that are from here and still live here. I took lessons from Steve from a very young age and later had the opportunity to work for Steve teaching lessons. I'm sure we spent thousands of hours on the court together, and I'm a better player for that. In my opinion, there's no one in the Dayton area who teaches fundamentals in the strokes better than Steve. So thank you, Steve. When I got to high school, John was my coach for 3 years. Coming out of basketball season, having a coach who was also a very good player was crucial. John always believed someone was beatable. It's easy to get caught up in past results in a sport that is often one-on-one. Where John really helped me the most was in doubles. I paired with Jeff Kubicki all 4 years in doubles and sectionals because we knew doubles would give us the best chance to get to state. Unfortunately, Jeff could not be here tonight. 2 good singles players don't always translate into a good doubles team, but because we were fortunate enough to have a coach that had such a strong understanding of doubles, we were able to be successful at sectionals and district each year. Thank you, John. I'm honored to have some of my teammates here tonight, and it brings back some great memories of our days playing together. I remember Justin Lopez and I coming in second at the SWBL Cup, and that was a 2-man scramble, and almost winning it against some tough competition. Ben Garrett helped seal one of our best wins in school, knocking down 3 free throws against Tip City. Ryan Barker is also here tonight. Ryan played golf, basketball, and tennis with me, so we spent quite a few seasons together. Doc could probably clarify this, but I'm guessing his 3 buzzer beaters at the end of quarters, including at the end of regulation, sent the game into overtime, and that was a win, turned out to be a win against Eaton. And that three-point buzzer beaters probably is, that's probably a one-time thing. I can't imagine anybody else did that. I got to play baseball and basketball with Mitchell Evans. I will never forget we were beating a pretty good Valley View basketball team. They were extremely frustrated. Mitchell went up and blocked a shot of their 6-foot 10-inch center, and mentally they were done at that point. I'd like to acknowledge all of the coaches that helped me over the years. Just to name a few: Coach Kugler, Coach Grudich, Coach Meredith, Coach Farrell, Coach Allball, stated before, Coach Grafflin, and many more. All those are great memories, and thanks to each of you for being here. I'd like again to thank the committee for selecting me and for inviting me here this evening. I'd like to thank my family, my teammates, my coaches, and all of you who have supported me. Finally, I hope everyone can follow us into the gym and dinner and support Rusty Berner and his program tonight against Brookville. So good luck tonight, guys. Thank you.
You get the assist on that one, Gene. All right, can we have a round of applause for all of our Hall of Famers?